Hi there, welcome to the PassionKnit Spinner podcast. My name is Tracy. You can find me as Schnüffeltier on Ravelry and Instagram. There's a Ravelry group for the podcast. Come over and join if you can. And thank you so much for being here. It's been a long time again. I know. I said last time that I really wanted to get back into a schedule and I just didn't. This I think is episode 149. Not sure, but it's somewhere in there. So I have brought a lot of things to talk about. There's not a lot of knitting because I lost my knitting mojo completely. I still don't really want to knit at all, so I don't, but I do spin a lot, and that's going to be the bulk of this episode, I think. But first off, what I'm wearing is also my knitting in the past. It's the only thing I finished since I did the sweater video that I did like 2 months ago, I think, almost. So this is very warm and I'm melting, but I'm gonna do it. This is a vest that I decided to knit one afternoon after I went through my hand-spun. Like I said, I'm spinning a lot right now, so I went through my hand-spun stash, and I do have a drawer chest with 6 drawers that is full of hand-spun, except for one drawer that holds fiber right now. But I want to change that and empty it out because I need more space for hand-spun. So I was looking through that and I came across this yarn here. This was a chunky, super bulky hand-spun that I did a few years ago, and I used 3 braids of 3 Waters Farm club fiber, spun them separate and plied them together for a chunky 3-ply yarn. And this is what I came up with. I had 323 yards of yarn for 323 grams of fiber. So it's really very thick. And I just decided to make a vest without a pattern, just eyeballing it in one afternoon. And I almost did that, except for I finished it on the next morning because I knit these on 8mm needles. And that really hurt my hands, so I couldn't finish it in the afternoon like I had planned. But I finished the next morning, so still quite happy with this. I'm gonna stand up and show you what it looks like. It looks like this. So this is the front, and this is the back. I did everything in a super simple way because I'm lazy and I didn't want to do finishing work on this. So I started it at the top, and I started by knitting a bit of I-cord about the length of, the neck opening. And then I did a knitted cast on for the shoulder. Then I knit back, picked up stitches from the I-cord and did another knitted cast on the other side. So I had the I-cord already at the neck opening and then could work my way down. And I did an attached I-cord on all the other edges here, and the bottom I did a 2x2 rib. And yeah, like I said, I just eyeballed the whole thing. The only thing I did measure was the depth of the armhole, because making it too wide, it's like very open, but making it too high, not nice as well. So that's the only thing I measured. And I did that by taking a different vest that I had made years ago and just putting it on top and being like, yeah, that's okay. And that's how I made this vest. There's no pattern. I have no clue what I did. I would never be able to recreate it unless I counted all the stitches and everything. But yeah, it worked out really nice. I'm super happy with it. Like I said, it is very warm. Very warm. So if I'm starting to melt while I'm doing this podcast, it's all for you. Okay, now knitting in the present. I have a few things on the needles, but I haven't worked on anything really. So the first thing I'm going to show is something I have talked about last time, and that is the tights. I think I talked about the tights. I want to knit tights for myself because I've realized in the last few years that I really don't like pants. I'm a skirt and dress girl, but that means cold butt in winter. So I wanted to make a pair of tights, and I called the whole operation Operation Warm Butt because that's what it is. You know, I want to be warm in winter, and this is for how far I've gotten. So far, I have a warm belly button. So for these tights, I didn't find a pattern specifically that I liked, because most of the patterns have ribbing on the side, and I don't want that for two reasons. First of all, I don't want to take care of having to knit the rib. You know, I want this to be a just knit, 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 no thinking project. And the other thing is, if you have rib on your tights and they get askew just a bit, it just shows, and it's horrible, and I don't like it. So these will be knit in stockinette stitch. And what I have done so far, I have done a folded hem, and you can see here, this is a double layer. I have knit it on, so you know, it's already folded and ready to go. I left a little opening somewhere so I can insert an elastic to make sure it will stay up. And I have printed out several different patterns for tights and similar clothing items. So I'm gonna make my own pattern with this and hope for the best. So yeah, that's how far I've gotten on that one. And this is my notes. They're not very thorough so far because nothing happened. But what I'm also doing for this one, because I really want to know, is I am keeping track of my knitting time. And so far, what you could see was 4 hours of knitting. And that is what I have. Seriously? This is gonna take forever. But I'm gonna treasure these and wear them probably for 20 years. So it's worth it. Good. Now that was this. Now onto all the things you have not seen before. I am working on a blanket. So like I said, I've lost my knitting mojo completely. I just don't want to knit. And on the weekend I had knit club, spinning club virtual, because we are not allowed to meet again because of the pandemic. And I just felt the urge to cast on a blanket, because you know, when you don't want to knit, the most smart thing you can ever do is start a blanket. So I did. I went through my stash and I dug out all of the 6-ply sock yarn that I had. That is the DK weight commercial sock yarn that you can buy in Germany. And I found 4 skeins, only 4. But I started, and I'm using loosely basing my blanket on the Habitation Throw by Helen Stewart. And she makes one big square out of Advent minis. That's the whole thought behind that blanket. And I'm doing my squares very similar to what she says in her pattern, but I'm doing them smaller, and I'm gonna seam them together in the end. So this is my first finished square out of the first yarn, and that is the yarn to go with it. And yeah, like I said, I have 4 skeins. I have no idea. I think I can probably knit 3 squares out of 1 skein. And I will get 1 skein from my mom, because she also has 1 skein. And my friend also has 1 skein of 6-ply sock yarn, and they will give me their skeins as well. And this is just going to be a project for me. So this is the second square I'm working on right now. I'm knitting this on 4mm needles. That's a US 6. And this one is just different grays. And the 4 yarns I have right now are these 4. I think it's going to be very pretty. Like I said, I'm knitting squares. I'm going to seam them together in the end. No idea yet how. And I have no idea how big this will get, because like I said, I will receive 2 more skeins and then we will see. I toyed with the idea of trying to finish this whole blanket for Christmas for my husband, but no, it's never going to happen. So I just decided to stop that thought before I actually wanted to do it. So that is the Habitation Throw that I, like I said, am modifying. I need coffee. Okay, then next up, I have started the Slipstravaganza mystery knit along by Stephen West, but it is done now. So it has been done for like 2 weeks, and there has been pictures of the thing all over, and I'm going to show you mine. I am still on clue 2. I was, you know, very much on top of it, and then I lost my love for knitting, and I didn't make myself knit when I didn't want to, so I'm not that far on this. I have stopped in the middle of a row, which I never do, and I'm using 4 colors, of course, because that's what the pattern calls for. And these are my 4 colors. The red is my main color, and the other 3 are the contrast colors. And it is a really fun to knit, but so many stitches, and I'm only on clue 2. You know, I already feel like this is taking forever, but I know that I have to double these stitches again, and that is a scary prospect. So I have done this much so far. I've done the beehive stitch thing, and then this Dalek-y version, and am at the brick version right now. And I know the lighting in here is weird, but it's what I have today. So this is how far I am. I really want to finish it because I think it looks amazing. I just don't want to knit. So as soon as I want to, again, I hope to get back to this one and finish it, because that would be nice. It would be really nice. This lives in a Vera Bradley bag that used to be my school bag. I have 2 in the same fabric but different bags, and those were my school bags, and I've decided to bring this one to a good use for right now and use it as a project bag. So that's what I'm doing. I have one more knit that I can show, or one more working project. What? No. One more project that I can show you that is in progress. So I have this year has been revealing in so many ways. I'm starting to actually find myself, find my style, find what I want to do with my life, and I realized that I really like vintage inspired things, and I like the style of the 1940s. That's what I like best, followed by Edwardian. So that's somewhere between 1890 and 1910. So I cast on a 1940s sweater. It is this pattern. I bought the pattern on Etsy. You can find it in several different online Etsy shops. It's, I think, from an Australian knitting magazine, but I'm not quite sure. And yeah, it is also, if you have not seen this before, it is the exact same sweater that Scarlett Johansson wears in one of the scenes in Jojo Rabbit, which I have not seen, but I know of the pictures of the sweater, and it is this sweater. And I have decided to, of course, use a stash yarn for this. And my main yarn that I'm using is Rowan Finest, which comes in 25 gram skeins. It's really sweet, cute. This is what the yarn looks like. It is a dark eggplanty purple. And I have gotten this far. I started the ribbing, and that's it. I am still working on the ribbing. I need 4 inches, 10 centimeters of ribbing before I can start the actual pattern. I have used up almost 1 skein of yarn, and I have it now in this small bag, which is a bag that my husband bought when he was away for work. I'm not quite sure where, but it's tiny, and as my knitting is tiny and the skein of yarn is tiny, this goes in my purse and comes with me whenever I have to leave the house, which I rarely have to do because it's a pandemic and we're not allowed to go anywhere. So yeah, that's my sweater. Like I said, the main color is the dark eggplant. So my phone just told me that there wasn't enough space to store my video, so it stopped recording. I just hope I can put it in one video without it being another problem. Otherwise, I will just upload 2 different ones because I don't yeah, I'm not gonna deal with this. Now, I was talking about my 1940s pattern sweater that I'm knitting, and I am using Rowan Finest for the main color, and the yarn I have is sport weight. The pattern calls for a fingering weight, but it also is for a 34-inch bust. I have a 39-inch bust, so I'm using a slightly thicker yarn, slightly thicker needles, and also I cast on way more stitches, and I'm knitting it round instead of flat. So I'm doing a lot of changes to this, but I hope it will look like the picture in the end. So main color. The next color will be this chocolatey brown. That is Martin's Lab in the Aubrey Sport in a one-of-a-kind colorway. The next skein that I have decided to use is Titus by Barham U, that I have had forever. Then the other skein of Martin's Lab Aubrey Sport that I have. I bought these together to knit a cowl, but decided that they will work great in this sweater. And my fourth contrast color is Vintage Pearls, which is a New Zealand dyed yarn in their sock yarn. And that is 384 meters. So 420 yards. Normal fingering weight, but I mean, fingering in sport is almost the same. And I only use this a couple of rows. So these are my colors for this sweater. And I'm very happy with my selection, you know, because I am using what I have, and that is all I want to do, really. Make pretty things with the stuff I already own. And at least when it comes to knitting. Spinning is a different story, but we will get to that. So that's my knitting content. I'm kind of unhappy that the video decided to cut off before I had finished talking about the sweater, because otherwise it would have been easy knitting everything else. But yeah, not gonna happen that way. Who cares? Now, let's talk about spinning. I have a million things in spinning. I'm gonna start with the finished stuff because that's smart. This skein here I already showed in my last video. That was for a basket full of hand-spun that I had finished. And but this is also the first braid that I had spun from the selection I made for a spinning retreat I should have gone to that was canceled very last minute because COVID numbers were spiking, and until that point they weren't. So the retreat was about to happen, and we should have left on Thursday or Wednesday or Thursday, and on Monday it was canceled. But I decided to spin all the fiber I had decided to take with me in the following week, and I did. I have not plied everything, but I have spun all of it. So the first skein was this one. This was a 50-50 merino and silk blend that I bought from a German indie dyer called Filzlinge, and I ended up with 183 meters. That's 200 yards and 81 grams. So that's a small skein, and I cannot get closer because there is a table in front of me. So that's the first skein. This one you've seen before. Now on to the next skeins. I spun two different braids of alpaca and milk fiber blend. They were both hand dyed from Adoptiv Wolle, another German indie dyer, and I'm not actually sure if she is still dyeing right now, but this is 75% baby alpaca and 25% milk fiber, protein fiber. And I had two different braids, and I spun them separate, plied them together because that's the easiest way of doing that. And I ended up with 388 meters, that's 424 yards and 280 grams. And I spun this on my sidekick. This was also spun on the sidekick. So this is the yarn. It is very pastel-y, but I really like it. So that's what this looks like. Everything is plied on my Hansen mini spinner. And I'm going to tell you about the wheels I used when I get to the yarns. But just so you know, I ply everything on a mini spinner. The next braid is also from Adoptiv Wolle. It was a 60% Polworth and 20% milk fiber blend. And I ended up with 437 meters, that's 478 yards, and 174 grams. That was a bigger braid also, spun on the Sidekick, plied on the mini spinner. And I'm really happy with this one. I'm gonna try and get it a bit closer. Then it probably will not focus because of my face. So yeah, I'm really happy with this one. So sensing a color scheme in all of these. That's what they look like. When I had finished these, I did a Patreon post about the importance of washing your handspun yarn. So if you are interested in that, why you should always wash your handspun and not wash it, I use these two skeins as an example for how and why. And that is up on my Patreon page. So if you're interested in that, check that out. I'm gonna talk a bit more about my Patreon page later, but just wanted to let you know. So these are the 3 skeins I have done. Now to all the bobbins that I have done, because there's a lot of them. Okay, let's start. The first thing I'm going to show you is this one. It's a tiny amount. I had 6 row legs for this one, and they are a set. They're 1/2 of a 2-parter set that is called Batman and the Joker, and this one was the Joker. I'm not sure if I can show you. Yeah, this is what it looks like. And I spun 3 Rolex on each of those bobbins, and I'm going to ply them not with a mini spinner because that's just not worth it. I'm going to ply this probably on the S45. I'm not sure yet, but I spun these on my Ashford Joy, and I had started them a while ago, and I finished the other bobbin because Tim decided that he really wanted to spin. And I thought about how to do this because he's 5 years old and I don't want him to ruin one of my wheels. So I thought about this for a very long time and decided that he will learn on the Ashford Joy for several reasons. First of all, it's the oldest wheel I have. I got this, I got it as a gift from my parents when I got married 12 years ago. Which is also a reason why I didn't want to use it for Tim, because I got it from my parents. But everything else just, you know, it's the smart decision to make. It's the oldest wheel, it's the easiest to use wheel, and it's not super high, so he can actually work with it. So I finished my yarn on that so that it is ready to go for him whenever he decides that he wants to do it. So that is that. Then the next thing I finished was this yarn here. It's on spun again on the Sidekick. It is quite thin because this will be Navajo plied, and I'm going to film a tutorial for how I'm doing that. And this was a gradient. It started out in green, then went to a teal, to purple, back to teal, and back to green. So this is what this is. And it is a BFL and silk 50-50 blend from Lana Passion, another German indie dyer. And I've had this for quite a while. So this is on this bobbin. I know, lighting is bad. Sorry. So yeah, as soon as I find the time to film that tutorial, I'm going to apply this and make that happen. And so I have it in the bags. I try to put the bobbins that I've finished back in the bags that I used to store the fiber, so I can have the label and everything together and not lose anything. So that is this. And then I finished also, that's the last bit from that going away fiber. That was, you know, these and this and what I'm going to show next. So I have finished spinning all of that and I'm quite happy about it. So the next thing I'm going to show you is a combo spin out of 3 braids of fiber. Sorry for the crinkling. So I had 3 braids of fiber that went together really beautifully. two of them were Three Waters Farm, both from their club. So the first braid I used was a 40% merino, 40% superwash merino, and 20% silk. And the other one was an 80-20 merino silk. And the third skein was from my friend Barbara, who is the dyer behind Almrauschwolle, and I have no idea what it was. I'm guessing it was a superwash merino, but I'm not quite sure. But I have 4 skeins of 4 bobbins that I spun because, you know, I wanted an even number to ply easier. And this is what they look like. This is so pretty. I just cannot wait for this to be plied. I spun it relatively thin on the sidekick again. And I just really, really, really hope this will be enough for a sweater, garment, whatever. Maybe another vest. I don't know. But it is super pretty. Like I said, was a combo spin. If you do not know what that is, I do have a video up on this channel for how to do a combo spin. And yeah, I'm really happy. This is absolutely wonderful. And I really need to start plying. I have a lot of stuff to ply, so I'm going to put these in here as well so that they are gone. So that's that. So after I had finished all of the fiber that I had initially planned on taking with me to the retreat, I decided to just get a basket, fill it with fiber, spin that all up, and then fill the basket again, you know? So the first thing I have to show, which didn't even make it into the basket, is this braid here. I was sitting downstairs in my fiber room, yarn room, knitting room, whatever, and I was bored because I didn't want to knit, so I decided to just spin something. So I opened the cupboard, took out the first thing that I grabbed, and spun it up. And it is fiber from Felt Studio UK, which is a great fiber dyer. I hope she's still in business. It is Superwash BFL, 70% and 30% sparkle. And I spun it on the Louette S45. And this is what it looks like. It's really very pretty. It also goes very much with the color scheme of the other finished skeins that I just showed. And I'm not sure yet how much I will have, but this would be fun socks. But I don't think I spun thin enough. We will find out though. So that is also ready to be plied. And, you know, for all of the skeins and bobbins I'm showing, I didn't do anything fancy. Just short forward draw, let the fiber decide, and just spin. Nothing intentional here. No intentions. Just spinning and hoping for the best outcome. So when I had knitting club last weekend, I also decided to spin rather than knit. And I chose from my basket a braid of fiber from 2If by Hand, and they are out of business. I'm sorry, when it comes to fiber, I'm horrible because I have not ordered fiber online in 3 or 4 years, or since Tim was born probably. So all of the fiber I have is quite old, and most of the dyers aren't here anymore. So but it's my stash, I'm using it. So this is 2If by Hand, and it is a mixed BFL. And I spun this on the Michi von Schwarzenstein, which is a German-made wheel, and it's an amazing wheel. It makes absolutely no noise when you spin. It's so quiet, you don't even notice that it's there. So that is this fiber here. That's what it looks like. It's gorgeous. I did a fractal spinning technique with this. So I used my braid, unraveled it, and just broke it in half. The one half I split down the length of it into 2 pieces, and the other half I split into 4 pieces. So when I'm going to ply, I will have the maximum amount of barber pulling hopefully happening for this one. And so yeah, that is this. So much spinning. I'm so happy about this. It's still the only thing I want to do. So there hopefully will be more spinning. And so 2 of my handbags, extremely crinkly. Always have been, sorry. Okay, I'm done with the crinkling for now. I just need to find the joy to ply all of these, because I really don't like plying, because it is the most boring thing you could imagine. For me, I know that there's people out there who love to ply, but I don't. Okay, next up. This is what I'm spinning right now. I have the sidekick upstairs, so when I watch TV in the evening, I can spin. And I've decided to put together 2 very different fiber things into a larger quantity. So I had 2 braids of Widdershin Woolworks and a BFL silk in a 75-25. And she didn't do names, you know, it's 181A and 181B that I'm spinning here. But I'm going to show you her label. So this is it, Widdershin Woolworks. Her shop was on Etsy. I have no idea if she's still in business or not, because I've had these forever. And this is the first finished bobbin. The second one is almost done. It's on the wheel right now. And I've decided to ply these 2 braids with 4 bats that I have. Also in my stash. The bobbins that I'm going to need are here. I'm going to just show you one of these. I have 4 of these. They're 50 grams each. And the braids were 100 grams each. So I have 200 grams of each of those. And this is also with a silk. It's 80 merino and 20% silk. That's bats from Rad der Zeit, which I have no idea if they still happen or not. Like I said, I'm very out of it when it comes to fiber. But this is what the bat looks like. It's different greens and browns with gray. And this is also greens and browns with gray and a bit of yellow. So I think plied together, this will be very pretty. And also, again, hopefully enough to knit some sort of garment, because I have so many single skeins of hand-spun. I just don't need any more. So I try to make a bit larger quantities whenever I can. So I think this will go together really well. And this is what I'm spinning on right now upstairs on the sidekick. So that is all of that. Bobbins in here. That's all of the spinning I have for you this week. Yeah, I'm not sure what to say. I just don't like to knit right now. I'm not sure why, but I'm not mad about it, because I have not been spinning all year because I just didn't want to. And now I have done so much spinning in the last month that I made up for the remaining year, I think. But yeah, I'm not going to complain. I love spinning. It makes me very happy right now. And also, it is a good thing for my Patreon, which brings me to the next thing. I have started a Patreon in the beginning of September. I know I always said I didn't want to do it. And after thinking about this for a very long time and thinking about it very hard, I realized why I never wanted to do it. And it was basically because I was afraid that no one would care and I would feel like a failure. So, yeah, I self-sabotaged myself. Is that a word? Can you say it like that? I did some self-sabotaging by constantly saying that I would never do that, because I was just too afraid to realize that no one cared. And yeah, I thought about this for a long time, and then I decided, you know what, fuck it, let's just do it. If no one cares, I at least tried. And it turns out people actually do care. I do have some patrons, and I'm very happy about that. And what I do with my Patreon, which is probably different from what everybody else does, I have set up tiers, which is, you know, if you do not know what Patreon is basically a page where you pay a monthly fee to receive the content the person you're paying for is producing. So my content is fiber related, of course, spinning, knitting, sewing, mending, but also kitchen. Knitting, not knitting, no knitting in the kitchen. Baking, cooking. I have baking videos up. I have a cooking video that is going to go up this week. I share recipes and that you can download, print and just give it a try. And that is what I do with my Patreon. There's lots of knitting, lots of spinning tutorials, and, like I said, recipes, how I do certain things in the kitchen. And here's the thing that I do different than most others do. So Patreon is designed for you to set up different tiers, and for every different tier you have, people that pay for that tier will get more of your content. And that is one of the things that always told me that this was not for me, because I don't think that just because you can pay more, you should be able to learn more. That's just something that I've always struggled with. And when I started my Patreon, I set it up in the way that everybody else did, and I let it be like that for a while. And then I thought, no, this is not what I want. Not really. I want to make this me. And so I did. So there's still the option to pay in 4 different tiers. The lowest tier is the sock tier, which you have to name your tiers. So I did sock, shawl, sweater, handmade outfit. And the sock tier is $3, €3. I set it up in euros because I pay in euros. I set it up in euros. So €3 a month will get you access to all the content. There is no, you pay more, you get more with my page. You pay €3 for a month and you get all of the things that I upload. If you want to give more because you can or you want, you can go into the shawl tier, the sweater tier, and do whatever you want. You can also, I think Patreon allows you to say, I want to give €8 a month or €10 a month or whatever. You can do that. €3 is the minimum fee, and everything above is basically up to you. So that is how I decided to do my Patreon. It's not you pay more, you get more. It's you pay the €3 a month, which I think is doable, and you get all the content, and you will not get more if you pay more, because I don't like to do that, because like I said a million times already in other podcasts of mine, I don't want to exclude people from learning just because they cannot afford to pay more money. So I think the €3 a month is a very fair starting point, and if you can get above that and want to do that, great. If not, great. It's up to you. And I really hope that what I put up on my Patreon is interesting for people. So yeah, that's what I have to say about Patreon. And that's it for the Patreon talk. Now, next thing I wanted to talk about. Reading, listening, watching. I have not been doing a lot of reading. I just I don't feel like it right now. I have read a book that's called Yes, You Are Good Enough, about imposter syndrome. And I didn't bring it because it has like a workbook for a 4-week workbook in the end. And I haven't started that, so I didn't want to talk about the book before I did that. But apart from that, no reading. I just don't feel like it. For listening, I have been listening to a lot of books. And I have listened most recently to the first 4 books in the Charlie Rhodes Cozy Mystery series by Amanda M. Lee, because I really like them. They're super fluffy, easy, and I listened to the first 4. And I've talked about those books before, so I'm not gonna talk about them today. My hair feels weird. Sorry. For watching, I have 2 things I want to talk about. I have been obsessed with 2 shows recently. If you follow me on Instagram, you probably noticed. So the first thing I watched with my husband was the BBC Musketeers. It's a show that was on TV from 2014 to 2017. It has 3 seasons, not 3 episodes. 3 seasons, 10 episodes each. and it's glorious. I don't know how else to say it. It's one of the best shows I've ever watched. I brought seasons 2 and 3 because I had to buy them on DVD. And I ordered them from England because they were way cheaper than buying them in German, or in Germany. And I don't need the German audio because I always watch stuff in English anyways, so it doesn't matter. And the thing is, Amazon does have it. You know, I could have bought it on Amazon Prime, but season 1 only comes in German. Seasons 2 and 3 do come in English. So, yeah. That's one thing I will never understand. Why make 2 of the 3 seasons available in English and 1 not? It just... So yeah, I bought them on DVD. I've brought you seasons 2 and 3 because season 1 is downstairs in use. I'm watching season 1 for the 5th time, I think. And I'm not ashamed of it. I love it. It's one of the best shows I've ever seen. It's about the Musketeers, of course, you know. It's very much based on the characters from Alexandre Dumas' book. I don't know French, sorry. So, yeah, it's based on his book, of course. So we have Athos, Porthos, and Aramis, and D'Artagnan. I'm not sure. It's a bit weird. And yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it's a wonderful show. It's about the Musketeers. I mean, I'm not quite sure what to tell you, but it's great. I'm not selling this very well, I know. But I love it. If you have ever watched anything I recommended before and liked it, you will probably like this one too. And the other thing we have watched is Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I have known about Brooklyn Nine-Nine, of course, for years, but I kind of always thought that it was way too goofy, which it isn't. So we started 2 weeks ago, and we finished all 7 seasons in 2 weeks. I mean, if that is not saying enough about how great this show is, I'm not sure what is. It's just wonderful. It is of course very funny, but it also is very deep. It has a very diverse cast. It has a lot of very time appropriate topics woven into the show, and some really heartbreaking things in the show as well. It's just great. I love Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I think this might be my new favorite thing ever. So yeah, that's what we have been watching. And for everything else, I have one thing. Several. I do have several things. I've talked about the Patreon, so I'm not going to do that. The next VKN will be this Saturday, which is, what is it? Wednesday. It's the 14th of November. Saturday, 14th of November will be the next VKN. 9 p.m. German time, like always. And I really look forward to seeing you again, because we did like a summer pause. I needed it. I needed to step away and just relax a bit. And we did that. So we're going to come back this weekend. And from then on, it's every other week, like it used to be. And now to the last part, mental health talk. I've been great. You know, I've said that before. I'm still doing very great. But last night, something happened that just I'm very pissed about. So, last night, my husband and some of our friends got together in a group chat, you know, video chat, and just had a beer and talked, and was really funny. And then he decided to join me and get me involved as well. So we were talking, and one of the guys said, so how is it working with teaching right now with the pandemic? I was like, I'm not teaching right now. What do you mean? Are you not allowed to teach because of the pandemic? He's like, I'm not teaching right now? I mean, what? So I basically had to explain to him that I haven't been teaching since Tim was born. And he just like, what do you mean you're not working? He's 5 years old. Why are you still home? And that really hurt me. I mean, first of all, how is it that you do not know that I'm not working? You're friends with my husband, and we've known each other for 18 years. What? And then that condescending tone of like, why again aren't you working? Ugh. So when strangers do that, you know, that talk down to me because I decided to be a stay-at-home mom, I'm right now at a point where I just don't give a shit about it anymore. But this is a friend of ours. And I mean, that was really hurtful. It was like I felt like he said, which he didn't actually say, but knowing him and the look on his face and the words he did use, for me it boiled down to, oh, so you let your husband do the work so you can spend his money. And what exactly are you doing all day? Okay, taking care of my child, isn't that enough? I mean, what else do I have to do in a day? Yeah, that really threw me off my game. And I didn't sleep very well tonight because I kept thinking about this and about my own insecurities about this same problem. I've talked about this before, so if you have watched my podcast before, you probably heard me talk about this before. And I just don't understand why it is so hard for people to understand that I'd rather stay home, take care of my child, and make sure that he has everything he needs, than go to work and pay somebody else to do what I could do instead. And like I said, I didn't sleep very well last night, and this morning I talked to my husband about it, and he was like, just forget about it. It's like, I could if it were a stranger, but he was not a stranger. He's a friend of ours. And it just really hurt, you know, that the look on his face, the tone of his voice, the words he used were all so diminishing. Is that a word? If it is a word, is it the right word for this scenario? I don't know. It made me feel really bad about myself, and yeah, it's gonna take a while for me to process that and to just say, you know what, fuck you, this is my life. And I will get to that point, but it's gonna take a while, because that is one of the things that I have struggled with for the last 5 years. I've decided to stay at home, take care of my child, because when I was a child, my mother had to work. I was alone or I was with somebody else, and I hated it. So yeah, sure, I can go to work and pay for somebody else to take care of my child, which will also eat up all of the money I make when going to work, which, you know, in itself doesn't make sense. And also, it means that my child will probably feel the same way about his childhood than I do. So, yeah. Like I said, this is a topic that is very hard for me, because we live in our modern world, you know. When you decide to stay at home and be a stay-at-home mom, you are looked down to, because we have fought for this, we have evolved from this, we have done a lot of things. Emancipation and feminism is things that are thrown in your face, and most people don't realize that I am a very feminist woman, and it is my decision to stay at home and take care of my child. It's not something my husband said to me, is like, you are the woman, you stay home and take care of house and kid and everything. He doesn't give a shit. It's my decision. And when I say I'm going to go back to work, it's my decision. So, you know, I'm not stuck in a different era because I decided to stay at home. But I keep getting looked down upon, and I just don't understand why. And it hurts. So I'm gonna stop talking about this now before I'm gonna start crying, because I do not want to cry on camera. I'm a very ugly crier, just so you know. And yeah, I need to do something that makes me happy, which is probably listening to System of a Down very loudly right now in here after I stop this video. And then keep your fingers crossed for me that I can put all of this 2 video things into one and make this happen. So yeah, that's my podcast for this week. I hope to see you in 3 days at the next VKN. And if not, I really hope I will be able to podcast maybe again in 2 weeks. It also depends very much on how much stuff I can get done. Because if I don't want to knit and I don't do anything else really, there's no point in recording a podcast. So I hope you're all wonderful. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're safe and happy and healthy. And stay that way, because, you know, it's a scary world right now. Okay. I hope you all have a wonderful time. I see you again, hopefully in 2 weeks. Bye.